Welcome to Watch Mojo. And today we're looking at bands whose career received a commercially successful boost after obtaining a new singer. Number 20. Sammy Hagar replaces David Lee Roth. Van Halen. Van Halen exploded with stellar musicianship and an unbeatable frontman. What's that sound? Here she comes, full blasting top down. The hard rockers were on the rise when the howling, high-energy David Lee Roth shockingly departed in 1985. But Montrose's Sammy Hagar brought more than a killer new voice. With more realized band chemistry and pop appeal, 5150 became the first Van Halen album to top the charts. The next two albums did the same. Still, fans heavily debate how this so-called Van Hagar era compares to Roth's tenure. Come on, baby, finish what you started. The commercial argument was complicated by Diamond Dave's return in '96 and 2006. Which brought his total sales well over the Red Rockers. Of course, it wouldn't have been the same without Hagar leading Van Halen into generation-defining success. Number 19. Michael Kiske replaces Kai Hansen. Helloween. Kai Hansen's fiery vocals and melodic guitar shredding made Helloween a unique voice in 80s metal. In fact, their seminal speed metal style was so intense that the frontman simply burned out. He thus provided backing and later left in favor of Michael Kiske, whose more dramatic belting complemented Helloween's growing symphonic influences. The two Keeper of the Seven Keys albums are now considered the formal declaration of the power metal genre. It would become a phenomenon as the band sold over 10 million records, mostly with Andy Darris singing. Hansen was no less influential with his hit follow-up band Gamma Ray. And since 2016, Helloween has given him, Kiske, and Darris their due as co-lead vocalists. Number 18. Corey Taylor takes over from Anders Kulsefni. Slipknot. Perhaps no band exemplifies the style and spectacle of new metal like Slipknot. But the Iowa ensemble were more death metal, among many other genres, when Anders Kulsefni fronted them. The album Mate, Feed, Kill, Repeat was an obscure debut, which the band has since dubbed a demo record. Kulsefni ultimately left shortly after being sidelined by Stone Sour frontman Corey Taylor. His wide melodic vocal range and outrageous showmanship were integral to Slipknot achieving unlikely stardom with such a heavy sound. I'm not gonna make it! They've sold tens of millions of records and are one of the hottest live acts in metal. Taylor has proven himself a powerhouse leader, but Kulsefni remains an active and eclectic performer. Number 17. James LaBrie replaces Charlie Dominici. Dream Theater. Founded under the name Majestic, Dream Theater helped define the progressive metal genre with their virtuosic musicianship. And yet, their work with Charlie Dominici didn't see much critical success, let alone commercial. You can make a fortune in life. You can keep a giant alive. It was ultimately decided that the singer's more pop-oriented background just didn't groove with Dream Theater's meticulous compositions. In 1991, the American band recruited Canadian singer James LaBrie as the ideal voice for their sophisticated style of heavy metal. He has been with Dream Theater ever since. Along the way, they have influenced countless musicians with consistent critical acclaim and commercial success. Fans still have a soft spot for the Dominici years and mourned along with the band after his passing in 2023. Number 16. David Clayton Thomas replaces Al Kooper, Blood, Sweat, and Tears. With jazzy pop rock barely describing their style, Blood, Sweat, and Tears seemed bound for stardom by the late 60s.
Is that an way for a man to carry on?
Their debut album, Child is Father to the Man, certainly won praise for Al Kooper's dynamic vocals and musical direction. Unfortunately, it barely cracked the top 50. As creative conflicts ensued, the band was left without its visionary leader. Enter the golden-voiced David Clayton Thomas to lead BS&T's eponymous second album to the top of the charts for 7 weeks.
Drop all your troubles by the riverside.
The band has since become a pop staple with a rotating lineup, though Clayton Thomas is associated with their golden age.
Catch a painted pony, let the spinning wheel fly.
Meanwhile, Cooper became a Renaissance man in the music industry and was individually inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2023. Number 15. Joey Belladonna replaces Neil Turbin, Anthrax. Thrash metalheads hail Anthrax as pioneers, but downplay that they didn't have the same early success as the rest of the Big Four. They had an unstable lineup before landing on vocalist Neil Turbin for Fistful of Metal. The 1984 album got mixed reviews, lacking the freshness of Metallica's '83 debut, Kill 'Em All. The band was already facing tension that ultimately led to the departures of Turbin and bassist Dan Lickler. At least they had solid sales, but not like they've had with Joey Belladonna. His intense vocals and stage presence turned Anthrax into one of the most influential acts in their genre. And with Belladonna fronting their most commercially successful years, he himself is a metal megastar. Number 14. Justin Hayward and John Lodge replace Denny Lane, the Moody Blues. To be key figures in art rock, the Moody Blues had a very 60s pop name. That's because they started as an R&B group behind guitarist-singer Denny Lane.
I don't want to see you go, oh, you better go now.
But after they scored a hit single with a cover of Bessie Smith's Go Now, plummeting commercial prospects led to radical change. Lane was replaced by 2 lead singers, Justin Hayward and John Lodge, whose poetic and high-concept songwriting had an important impact on progressive rock.
When the music plays, when the words are touched with sorrow.
This new style was still pop enough to hook mainstream listeners. The Moody Blues became a sensation with audiences and critics, rising above 60s trends to become true innovators. Lane enjoyed his own successful reinvention, notably co-founding the band Wings with friend Paul McCartney.
You think that people would have had enough of a silly love song?
Number 13. Bernard Sumner takes over from Ian Curtis, Joy Division / New Order. Joy Division brought punk to new commercial heights with their danceable style and Ian Curtis's charisma. They were sure to become a phenomenon when tragedy marked the end of an era. Struggling with depression and epilepsy, Curtis took his own life just before the release of the band's second album. Joy Division promptly disbanded, but the members soon regrouped and completely rebranded. With guitarist-keyboardist Bernard Sumner promoted to lead vocals, New Order helped pioneer the synth-pop craze of the 80s and lay the foundation for alternative dance music. Sumner has since led New Order to renown and popularity for 4 decades. Of course, the band's work under a different name and visionary frontman is as celebrated as ever.
Tell me, how does it feel when your heart grows cold?
Number 12. Mike Patton replaces Chuck Mosley. Faith No More. Going into the 80s, these San Francisco alt-rockers faced a crisis of identity. They went through 2 names and 3 singers before Chuck Mosley fronted Faith No More for the album We Care a Lot. It was a success and its title track an outright hit, but Mosley's erratic behavior led to his dismissal after the second album. Faith No More then recruited Mr. Bungle's Mike Patton, a virtuoso singer and off-the-wall showman. He expanded the band's musical boundaries, earning them a devoted following and accolades as one of the most distinct rock acts of the 90s. Patton himself became a prolific phenom across near innumerable genres.
What is it? What is it? What is it?
But many artists praise Faith No More's influence back to the late, great Chuck Mosley. Number 11. Grace Slick replaces Signe Tolley Anderson. Jefferson Airplane. Jefferson Airplane was one of the leading voices of 60s counterculture, 2 voices at a time. While Paul Kantner always provided the male vocals, his partner was Signe Tolley Anderson. She helped set the band's distinctive style with the modestly successful album Jefferson Airplane Takes Off.
It's no secret. Everybody knows how I feel.
But Anderson decided to leave the group after becoming a mother. The landmark album Surrealistic Pillow would thus feature Grace Slick of the Great Society.
One pill makes you larger and one pill makes you small.
Her powerful vocals and stage presence propelled the commercial appeal of psychedelic rock, placing Jefferson Airplane at the forefront of counterculture music. Slick is now regarded as an important figure among women in rock, but might not have gotten there without Anderson's underappreciated voice.
I think she'll know.
Number 10. Phil Anselmo replaces Terry Glaze. Pantera. Fans new to the history of this rough and ready metal act may be surprised to discover that Pantera actually started their career as a more traditional-minded, glam-flavored metal machine. The Texas-bred band featured Terry Glaze on vocals during this time and released 3 albums with the singer before eventually hooking up with New Orleans native Phil Anselmo on the power metal album. It wasn't long before bringing on Anselmo that Pantera would sign a deal with Atco Records, resulting in their breakthrough major label debut, Cowboys from Hell. The rest, as they say, is history, with Pantera eventually going on to become one of heavy metal's most popular and influential bands. Number 9. Henry Rollins takes over from Des Cadena. Black Flag. Hardcore punk icons Black Flag have been through a number of lead vocalists over the years, including Ron Chavo Reyes and former Circle Jerk singer Keith Morris. But it was with the magnetic and furious frontman Henry Rollins, however, where the band arguably entered their most progressive and successful creative period. Rollins served as the longest-termed singer for Black Flag, having replaced Des Cadena in 1981, with the latter switching over to the second guitar position. The resulting albums with Rollins, such as Damaged, My War, and Slip It In, went on to influence not only Flag's punk rock community, but also metal and noise rock bands around the world. Number 8. Ian Gillan replaces Rod Evans. Deep Purple. The British rock institution of Deep Purple did get a solid running start with their Mark I lineup alongside their first frontman Rod Evans.
Help me if you can, I'm feeling down.
But it wasn't until Ian Gillan joined the band in late 1969 that they truly started their journey towards superstardom.
We all came out to Montreal, beach and the shoreline.
This was largely due in part to Gillan's capable ability to howl with reckless abandon on such future Purple classics as Highway Star and Space Truckin', both of which served as the earliest examples of hard rock progressing towards heavy metal. Purple and Gillan would go on to crisscross the world on tour, further cementing their status as one of heavy rock's most influential groups. Number 7. Steve Perry takes over from Greg Rowley. Journey. The crystal clear voice of Steve Perry is one of the most closely associated with the career of rock legends Journey.
So hold tight, ooh baby, hold tight.
But the band's story actually started much earlier. Band leader Neil Schon initially formed Journey after leaving Santana in 1973. Coming together with Greg Rowley on keyboards and vocals, Journey briefly employed singer Robert Fleischman after releasing their third album in 1977. But it was the Steve Perry era from 77 to 98 which served as their most commercially successful, resulting in numerous top 10 singles and successful world tours. Number 6. Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks replace Bob Welch. Fleetwood Mac. It's quite difficult to make sense of the twisted mass of tangled threads that is Fleetwood Mac lineup changes. What isn't difficult, however, is to note how the band's commercial profile increased in 1974, when the former blues rock band enlisted singer-songwriter couple Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks into their ranks.
You can go your own way,
Buckingham and Nicks brought with them a stripped-down, emotional passion to the band's songwriting.
You can call it thunder, Monday.
In the process, tempering down Fleetwood Mac's riff-heavy sound into one more balanced between Buckingham's flowing guitar melodies and Nicks's charismatic vocals and stage presence. Number 5. Simon Le Bon replaces Stephen Duffy, Duran Duran. The tenure of one Stephen Duffy was not one that lasted long within an early incarnation of the British pop rock Goliath known as Duran Duran. Although Duffy helped form the band alongside bassist John Taylor and keyboardist Nick Rhodes, he was ultimately one of a small revolving door of vocalists that assisted Duran Duran during their early nightclub days.
I know you're watching me every minute of the day, yeah.
It was the addition of Simon Le Bon in 1980 that cemented what most fans see as the definitive lineup of the band, as this version of Duran Duran would go on to become legitimate 1980s superstars.
Please tell me now, is there something I know?
Thanks to music videos for Rio, Save a Prayer, and Hungry Like the Wolf receiving massive MTV rotation.
Center the sound, I'm lost and I'm found, and I'm hungry like the wolf.
Number 4. Phil Collins replaces Peter Gabriel. Genesis. Genesis were responsible for spearheading the progressive rock movement of the 1970s, thanks much in part to the magnetic stage presence of their theatrical frontman, Peter Gabriel.
Watching all the skies, what you want.
Early Genesis shows were marked by Gabriel's penchant for stage makeup and showmanship, while the band's complex songwriting exemplified prog rock's reputation for musical intricacy. Fast forwarding to the band's tenure under singer-drummer Phil Collins, however, showcased a band very much taking this progressive musicality and stripping it down to its most essential commercial elements.
I get so lonely when she's not there.
Smash Genesis hits like Land of Confusion and That's All took the band's early elements and combined them with smart songwriting, resulting in the band's most commercially successful period.
It's always the same, it's just a shame, that's all, that's all.
Number 3. Brian Johnson replaces Bon Scott. AC/DC. Most AC/DC fans will likely agree that the band's iconic frontman Bon Scott was irreplaceable. That is, until they heard Brian Johnson. It was Johnson's debut with AC/DC in 1980 that assisted in softening the blows struck by Scott's alcohol-related death earlier that year, a magnificent riff rock collection known as Back in Black. Johnson's paint-peeling screech was one pattern after Scott's own legendary wail. Yet the former Geordie frontman never made it a point of copying Scott note for note. Rather, the band and Johnson paved their own way together, writing, recording, and touring together for the next 30-plus years. Number 2. Bruce Dickinson replaces Paul Di'Anno, Iron Maiden. Many members have passed through the hallowed halls of metal masters Iron Maiden over the years, but it was the coveted lead vocal position that has served as the most hotly debated among fans. Iron Maiden were diehard fan favorites in their native England, after toiling through the underground with their punk-fueled frontman Paul Di'Anno. Substance issues took their toll on the frontman after 2 albums with Maiden, however, resulting in him being replaced in 1981 by former Samson singer Bruce Dickinson. The resulting albums with Dickinson would cement Iron Maiden as a worldwide metal powerhouse, increasing the band's commercial profile around the world. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. David Gilmour replaces Syd Barrett, Pink Floyd. The heavy psychedelic sound that characterized early Pink Floyd was thanks largely in part to the band's founder, guitarist Syd Barrett.
I opened the door to an empty room.
It was the songwriter's erratic personal behavior, exacerbated by heavy substance use, that would eventually lead to Barrett's dismissal from Pink Floyd. Vocalist and guitarist David Gilmour had already been introduced into the band at this point to support and supplement Barrett. But it was this shift in creative control with Syd's exit which led to some of Floyd's most commercially successful records.
And after all, we're only ordinary men.
Gilmour's smooth vocals and expressive emotional guitar playing would go on to define the new Pink Floyd sound, bringing in fans around the world throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s. What are your favorite vocalist replacements in bands? Lend your voice in the comments. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.